Hi, everyone. My name is Sylvia Lee. I'm a senior product manager in the Prisma Access team. Today, I'm going to spend some time talking about Prisma Access 5.0, which is the release that we launched in Q4 calendar year last year before the holidays, as well as 5.0.1, which is another small release that we released earlier this month. So I'm going to go over all the features one by one. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A chat, Q&A window, and I will address those after the presentation. Okay. So for 5.0, this is a release that we launched, as I mentioned, in Q4 last year. It is as you can see, right, like some of the features and which I bolded here, for example, like remote browser isolation, app network acceleration. These are our two anchor features, which I'm going to do a little bit of deep dive afterwards. And we do have a suite of features that encompasses including all the application user security, including some of the features enhancements, and we have on traffic replication, CASB, and IoT, etc. And we also have enhancements on ADAM and additional features around like bulk configuration, as well as third-party integration, and some of the new development that we have in China, as well as on the CDR region that we support. So I'm going to go through these one by one. If you have any questions, feel free to leave in a comment in the Q&A box. These features, as you see, the data plane is 10.2.8. It only requires if you would like to unlock certain innovation features. So not all features require 10.2.8 upgrades in terms of data plane. So the main features that we have here is primarily remote browser isolation and app acceleration. These two require a 10.2.8 upgrade. I'm quickly go over these compatibility matrix. In terms of cloud services plugin version 5.0, from a data plane standpoint, as I mentioned, it only requires 5.0 innovation features. If you like to have those features, and you have to upgrade to 10.2.8. And then we have compatible GP version as well as panorama versions here. Okay, let's go one by one here. So the first is around remote browser isolation. For those who are not familiar with what remote browser isolation is, this is basically an extra set of security layer so that you can actually have a safe rendering of web content on end user devices. The use case is actually around managed devices. What it does is that basically we'll have a remote server host the end user's web browsing session. It will actually stop zero-day web threats, help safely execute malicious payloads that is far away from users and devices in a more air-gapped environment. It will also prevent browser exploits and monitor, prevent, and also prevent data loss. So what it does, it is a really nice feature that, number one, it will provide a secure isolation technology for those zero-day web threats. Number two, the development that we have here is that we actually launch a near-native browsing experience, for example, supporting 4K videos and etc. So it's no longer the legacy technology that you see in the market today. Another piece is that we also natively integrate with zero trust security, so with Prisma Access. So you have a uniform policy that can basically manage your RBI, your remote browser isolation, as well as the Prisma Access piece. The use cases that we're targeting, number one is around additional security for managed devices. What it does, you can basically isolate internet web traffic that are deemed risky and suspicious. You can also isolate all internet web traffic for those highly targeted, high-value users, for example, executives, C-suites, and etc. It is a dynamic security for managed devices. So it can be based on your risk score from Azure AD, from certain geographic locations, and this is coming up next, and also from risk scores from your EDRs, for example, XDR, etc. In future releases where we're going to have more enhancements and etc., this one was what we launched last year in Q4. The next one is around traffic replication for remote networks. It's also called traffic mirroring. For those of you who are familiar with our product, we actually launched traffic mirroring, traffic replication for mobile users in the last 2 releases. What it does is that it will basically, we understand that our customers have a lot of needs in terms of forensic analysis for SOC and NOC. This will basically allow you we provide an access to a copy of a traffic, which is a PCAP from Prisma Access, so that you can basically, the traffic from both mobile user as well as remote networks are available for you, so that you can basically do forensic analysis offline and also integrate with a third-party vendors if you would like to. And this particular product is an add-on, so you need a separate sort of license on traffic replication. So which is the same as RBI, which I just mentioned. That's also require a separate add-on license. The next one is CASB. For those of you who are familiar with our CASB product, this is an enhancement for a particular use case where basically for customers like you, if you like to have a different policies set between the SaaS applications that are corporate versus personal. For example, right, this could be your G Suites, and it can be personal usage of SaaS application versus a personal usage of a SaaS application. You basically can apply a different, basically strict DLP check for uploads and downloads and etc. This will basically allow you to have that differentiation. One note to take note on this: in order to consume this functionality, you also have to upgrade to the 10.2.8 data plane that I just mentioned earlier in the call. This one is IoT security support for cloud-managed Prisma Access. As some of you probably have already known, IoT security is not a news for everyone, right? We all understand that there's lots of common attack vectors that are targeting IoT devices and all the connected devices. Prisma Access has been supporting IoT, has already had IoT security add-on for Panorama managed for a very long time. Now this release, we're enabling IoT security add-ons support for cloud-managed Prisma Access tenant, so that you can have IoT discovery and also risk assessments, enforcing the same ZTNA policies and principles for IoT devices. So we're bringing that capability to cloud management, which is in your Strata Cloud Manager. It is the same add-on license. So basically, we basically provide the cloud management support for that. The next feature is around policy optimizers and rule usage. For those of you who are our next-gen firewall customers, and you are probably familiar with basically a feature that is called policy optimizer. What it does is that it will identify and remove unused or barely used rules. And that functionality used not to, basically it was not available for Prisma Access. Now it is becoming available, and we're enabling that support for Panorama managed Prisma Access. From a user experience standpoint, this is actually a brand new feature that we launched, and hopefully we'll have a more deep dive session in upcoming months. This is basically called app acceleration. What it does, right? So if you look at today, I'm just diving into this a little bit today. For today, when we talk about latency, right, from a user to applications, we focus a lot on the middle part, which is, hey, where your POP is, well, how much latency are you consuming from a security processing standpoint? What is your last mile access? If you look at this, right, we can talk about X milliseconds, right? It could be 100, 200, whatever it is, and plus the on the left-hand side, right, which is our your SP provider, right, your Wi-Fi, your WAN access that introduce another extra, X milliseconds of latency. So that's where people are really focusing on. But we want to make sure that we are not forgetting the big picture here. When a user trying to access to an application, 90% of the latency actually occurred outside of the things that we can control by our SASE vendor, right? They are actually around applications. That's where your content processing take place. For example, right, when you are trying to access to a Salesforce app, the majority of the content is around, majority of the latency is around content processing. So you might have a great experience on the left-hand side, right? From a SASE boundary, like SASE processing or your Wi-Fi, mobile access, and et cetera. But for most cases, the majority of latency actually happen in the content processing part. So you might have a bad experience over there. So what we do, we basically recently launched, we acquired a company last year, and then we basically launched a new feature that allow you to basically reduce the latency on the right-hand side, right? Like the application part. So we are introducing Prisma Access app acceleration. It will basically help you improve the latency that from a user to app standpoint. So this we're happy to have more demo and offline basically conversations with you in terms of how this is executing. Basically, it will provide you up to 5 times faster the latency results than the regular internet, right? And how are we doing this? The magic sauce that we have, number one, is around network acceleration, right? We maximize the amount of data that the device and network allow using customer flow profiles. And we also compensate in real time to adjust for any changing conditions, for example, packet loss, packet corruption, congestion, jitter, and et cetera. The second piece is application acceleration. Basically, we introduce bots to predict user interactions by proactively understanding what is the user journey for the next dynamic app content. And we're going to prefetch the content before the user even asks for that. So we're supporting in the upcoming release in a few months, we're supporting up to 10 applications, and then we're gradually increasing to 100 applications by the end of this year. So it's a really powerful feature. Powerful feature. The one that we launched back in October, November was the first part, basically including the network acceleration, and the upcoming one will basically include application acceleration. Okay. The next one is around ADEM enhancements. We have a few ADEM enhancements, including ADEM API supports that basically provides access to ADEM data for real-time and historical monitoring usage. And the second one is around enhancing visibilities to provide individual and combined URL experience within the same applications. This feature is called multi-tenant global bulk policy management. From a glance, you probably are wondering what is exactly this is. So in a short form, this is basically a bulk config. What it does is that for multi-tenant scenarios, this could be it could be a service provider, MSP, and it could also be a distributed enterprise, right? Who actually have multiple tenancies, whether that tenancy is based out of a geography or it's based out of different subsidiaries. So that's becoming applicable. So one of the common asks from our customers to have a common policy across different tenants. Now, this feature basically enables that. You can have a common set of policies, we call it bulk config, that you want to push to different tenants. So you can define your use case, and then you can temporalize your policies and snippets so they can push into different, basically different tenants, and then also maintaining that way. So this is a very powerful tool for those who are using multi-tenancy structure today. And then second, I'm coming back to the Zigna connector. For those of you who are not familiar with the Zigna connector, we actually launched this product about 10 months ago or 12 months ago. What it does is that Zigna connector is basically a VM that our customers can deploy in their environment that automatically forms the tunnels back to Prisma Access and allows customers to automatically onboard private applications to Prisma Access. So this is an enhancement. We actually have continuous enhancements in every single release. So you're going to see more enhancement in our upcoming release. For this particular release, we basically bring the support for IP subnets and wildcard FQDN-based onboarding. So it will help simplify application onboarding and provides a more optimized connectivity for those geographically distributed applications. Okay. For third-party integration, there are two features that we're launching today. One is around Microsoft Defender for cloud apps integration. For those of you who are a heavy Microsoft user, you're probably familiar with MCAS, which is their CASB product, Microsoft's CASB product. We are providing integration between PA and MCAS so that you basically are able to block unsanctioned applications inline in Prisma Access and create that interoperability here so that you can basically will enhance the automated sync and inline enforcement of policies in Prisma Access. Oh, I'm sorry. And the next one is around remote network tunnel setup automation for API. This is primarily for OEM SD-WAN vendors that when they currently integrate with Prisma Access today, basically they are, apart from integrating from API perspective, but they also have to allow integration, allow traffic to Panorama, and they have to punch a hole in their edge firewall. So what it does for this particular feature is that it basically create a common remote network tunnel and automation API for both Panorama as well as Client Manager. And this will be accessible through our shared service API gateway. All right. This will help the ease of integration between any third-party SD-WAN OEMs and who are trying to integrate with Prisma Access. Now coming back to the geographic expansion topic. First, sorry, my mouse is jumping around a little bit. And first is around China phase 2. So Prisma Access China actually was launched about 10 months ago. It is a separate tenant. For the first release, it was managed by a dedicated Panorama only. Now, for this particular release, this is primarily for multinational companies who are using Strata Cloud Manager. Now you basically have the opportunity to manage Prisma Access China tenant as well. So the support for cloud management is introduced basically for this release. What it does is that you will be able to manage global tenant as well as China tenant in the multi-tenant cloud management fashion. And adding to that, we also enable bulk configuration support that I just mentioned in the a few minutes ago. So this type of this policy is also will enable you to push the policies for both China tenant as well as global tenant. So you will be able to basically manage both tenants in a single pane of glass in a multi-tenant cloud management portal and maintain a consistent policy across the tenants. Okay. Now coming to 5.01. 5.0.1 was recently launched earlier this month. And there are a few features primarily around user experience and a user branch connectivities, which some of you are probably interested in. And then we also have a new addition from a geographic location standpoint. The first is around ADAM enhancements. We have a couple of ADAM and AIOps enhancements. For this particular one, we now introduce a support for additional protocol, which is TCP-based synthetics. So what it does is that we'll provide a path visualization for split tunnel applications, and will also enhance some granular hop-by-hop visibilities so that you basically have a better visibility from an ADAM perspective. From ADAM AI ops perspective, and we know that currently today, our remediation playbooks are delivering incidents are textual that have to be performed manually by our IT teams. The newer edition that we have will basically automate troubleshooting and remediation playbooks. So this will basically help you save time and resources from resolving incidents there. And we also introduced a before-after policy analysis in Access Analyzer. Basically, it will automate before and after policy analysis to highlight what has changed, what is the impact. So it's actually a better way for you to ease the troubleshooting for policy changes. This one, reduced license entitlement from 90 days to 30 days, was actually a commonly asked topic by our customers. And we know that today, when you log on to Prisma Access, it's 90-day period, right? You basically have the rolling 90-day user insights, basically. So what it does for the next, basically based out of 501, is that you will be able to, we are reducing that number to 30 days. So this is a counter for any, for example, seasonalities, and you might have headcounts change and things like that. We want to make sure that we're aligning with our industry best practices, and also our other cloud vendors and SaaS vendors. So you will be able to validate that data in a 30-day manner. So in this case, we're based out of the number of unique users logging in the last 30-day period. So this is becoming available for everyone. You don't need any sort of data plane change or upgrades and etc. For this one, this is primarily for our RN architectures. I think a lot of folks, when we're doing RN, SPN, user ID mapping, currently you have to basically use an next-gen firewall. But by introducing this particular feature, we basically allowed introduce a cloud-native internal gateway so that you are no longer require an next-gen firewall, on-prem firewall, in order for the user ID distribution to happen. And then this particular support for now is only for cloud managed Prisma Access only. The next one is IP optimization for Prisma Access. This is for greenfield customers. In order to support this, we require a minimum version of GP of 6.1.4. This basically helps you to resolve two potential problems, right? Number one, we are basically helping you to have a simplified and deterministic public IP address allow list experience. We understand today, the whitelist experience for SaaS applications might be a little bit cumbersome, and by introducing this NAT functionalities, NAT layer for MU gateways, that will basically reduce the IP address space by at least 50%. So it will allow you to simplify that process. And we're also providing a product resiliency standpoint, where you'll be able to, for example, the network, the NLB part, we basically allow you to real-time balancing the traffic loads based on the predictable experience during the periods of congestions and auto-scaling events. So basically, this IP optimization feature will basically help you with those two scenarios. We're launching for greenfield customer for now, and then moving forward in the next releases, and we're basically bringing into our brownfield customers. Now, from a new PA location standpoint, we're introducing Saudi Arabia. This is a new GCP region, and we're also supporting a new CDL region. So this is primarily for compliance regulatory standpoint. Customers required to send CDLs send their logs in CDL in France, where Prisma Access is supporting those. Um, and please note that some of the prior release, we do have a few, we call it local zones. And when we say that it will be feature flag for 5.0.1 is that these features are still available. It's just that when you would like to, for example, deploy in those AWS local zones, we currently have 6. In the US, we have Miami, Chicago, and then we also have Perth, Lima, and in Nigeria. For example, these places, you can still deploy those, but we need to plan capacity ahead of time to ensure the best user experience there. In terms of Prisma Access China, I mentioned the enhancements there. This basically allow you to view logs available in Strata Cloud Manager for China tenant. So basically, this is another feature that we make this so that it's consistent with the rest of the world.